Namaste, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you to Bodhi Stree Dialogues. It is my pleasure to announce that today is our 31st edition of Bodhi Stree Dialogues. And I'm Aditi, and I'm so pleased to welcome you all to this glorious Wednesday afternoon. Thank you so much for all of you who are joining. And for those of you who have joined for the first time, welcome to the tribe. So Bodhi Stree is brought to you by Plug H, which is a well-being consultancy. And it was born from the idea that empowering women has to go beyond celebrating just a day, which is 8th of March. And that's how Bodhi Stree Dialogues was born, where we kicked off a monthly celebration of learning for women on 8th of April, 2021. Over the past 3 years or so, we have brought women across different sectors and backgrounds. For example, social impact, healthcare, education, STEM, fashion, filmmaking, all together in one place for all of us, the Bodhi Stree tribe, to build perspective and to help women discover the Shakti and the Bodhi Stree within. So this month, I am so pleased to share with you that we have with us Dr. Noorjehan Safia Niaz on elevating equality. So just a little bit about her before we begin. Dr. Noorjehan is a women's rights activist and also the co-founder of the Bharatiya Muslim Mahila Andolan. She's a counselor and a mental health practitioner. She believes that women deserve to live in a world which ensures peace, security, dignity, and equal opportunities to achieve their aspirations and desires. Her work has spanned issues of education, health, security, livelihood, and also Muslim law reform. She has also furthered her work by encouraging and facilitating the leadership of Muslim women through the BMMA. So today, I am so glad to welcome you all to this enriching interaction with her, where she'll talk to us behind the trailblazing path that she has put forward for Muslim women's rights and education. And in conversation with her today, we have Divya Singh, who is also a very proud, close member and supporter of the Bodhi Stree community. So over to you, Divya. And thank you so much for both of you for joining us today on this afternoon.
Yes. Thank you so much, Aditi, for the wonderful introduction of Dr. Noorjehan. First of all, Dr. Noorjehan, welcome to Bodhi Stree. It is an honor to interview you today in front of our wonderful audience online. We know that you have so many accolades. You have worked with the Bharatiya Muslim Mahila Andolan for now close to 15, 20 years now. So we wanted to know that how did you begin? How did the beginnings of your work of social work as a profession begin? So how did you get involved with your early years within this profession?
So thank you so much, Divya, for this opportunity. And thank you, Deepa, also for being such a wonderful friend. Been friends for decades now. So it's such an honor to be with her. So the journey began when I was in my early years of college, and I realized that I was interested. It was very organic. I mean, I didn't have an idea. Like all other children, I always wanted to be a teacher. For some reason, all of us want to become a teacher when we are small, and that's what I wanted to become. And then I realized that in college, I got interested in the social work department that we had. We had a counselor there, and I would go and help her with setting up exhibitions, awareness talks. And she was the one who really pushed me and showed me the direction that if you are really interested in doing this kind of work, then she offered me, explained it to me, the various courses that I can do, the BSW and the MSW. And so that was it. So she was really the one who showed me the direction. But I realized that even before college, in my school days also, I was a little more empathetic than others, and I was able to not able to really understand why is there so much of inequality, why is there so much of pain in the people around me that I would see. And of course, I never understood that. But that I think also came from the family, because we were, my aunts and my family members were a little more empathetic and understood what it means to help people. So that's where it came. It germinated in the family, but the college years were really the place where it all opened up for me. And then she also directed me to join the NSS. So in the senior college, all the 3 years of my senior college, I was involved in various projects. And that was the time I realized that, yes, this is what I want to do. And then MSW happened, and then the whole journey started.
That's wonderful to hear, because I also, in a similar fashion, I also have a background in MSW, and a lot of times, our also sense of interest comes from the fact that we feel that there's a need to build a space for people who otherwise do not get that opportunity. So, starting then, once you did your MSW, then how did you transition into the space post graduation? How did you work from, from a specific background? Now you specifically work with Muslim women. So how did this idea come to be that you wanted to work with a large community and specifically with this particular group?
Yeah, so MSW was really the stepping stone. It gave you a wide variety of possibilities, and also a very sound theoretical understanding of social work. And of course, through our fieldwork placements, the skill development also happened. And but interestingly, that was the time when I wanted to work in the rural areas. I wanted to work in the tribal areas, and I was very keen on doing that. But my mother, being what she is, like, you have to come back home. Wherever you work, you have to be back home. Not because there were restrictions, but she was very, very close to me and very emotionally invested in me. And she said, "Itna to kar mere liye. You have to come back to me." And so I said, okay, then the next thing that I was really keen on doing was working on the issues of women, because that was very close to me. And so I joined from the campus itself. I joined the state institution, Mahila Arthik Vikas Mahamandal. And so that was a government setting for women's economic empowerment. And sadly enough, for the next 6 months, that 3 of us had joined from our batch. And we realized that there's no work. 6 months we got a good position and a table and a chair and all those perks, but no work. Kaam hi nahi tha. And then 3 of us took a decision that we cannot work here. So we took a call and we just left our government jobs, so to say, at that point of time. And we so after that I joined Yuva, and that really opened up a lot of experiences in the community. So it was the very first time that I was introduced to the Muslim community, but from a different strata. So from a very privileged middle class background, I was into the Muslim community, the Muslim ghetto. And that really, and this was also at a time when the 92, 93 riots had happened. Just after the riots, I had joined. So I went straight into relief and rehabilitation. And, it was shocking because one, you see the poverty, one, you see the exclusion, you see the ghettoization, you see the status of women within the community and how disempowered they are. And then again, the situation, the context of the riot happening, where the community itself is so vulnerable. And so a lot of learning, but also a lot of churning inside. And I work very closely with the Muslim women's group in Jogeshwari East, which was badly affected in the criminal violence. And I was exposed to women who were so strong. They'd not been to school. They'd not had the privileges that I had. They didn't have the opportunity, but they were such strong women. And I was completely inspired by their confidence. They were there to face the police. They were there to face the carrying out the relief work in the community and working with the youth in that area and taking leadership of the entire process. And that was, in a way, of course, that time I didn't realize it. But when I look back, I realized that was the time when I said that this is it. I need to, it's my responsibility as a citizen, but also my responsibility as a member of that community to be able to give back, and to do whatever that I can do to see how can things become better for the women in the community and for the community itself. And so that's how. So Yuva has been a place where my whole purpose of working with Muslim women got formed, and thereafter, it just happened that I got into places where I was able to work with the Muslim community in a more, in a more involved way. So I joined the Anjuman Islam, where they were just beginning to start a project on with women. So I worked with them for 5 years. And so what I learned in TIS and what I learned in yoga, I was able to put that into practice. So all those skills, and so Anjuman gave me a lot of opportunity. It was like an open thing for you to do what you want to do. And that's the time when I met I was able to independently reach out to Muslim women in the communities. And so across Mumbai, I was able to mobilize them, organize them, put them into groups, and starting training programs with them, because I realized that how much ever charity work you do, or even developmental work that you do, unless you focus on the rights and letting women know what their rights are, things don't really move forward. And so my focus that time, I realized that also my capacity and my skills as a trainer really came forward, and I realized that I'm able to do that. So how do we, because any empowerment, any change happens only when you have knowledge. Yeah, so knowledge is power. We don't say just like that. It really means that if you really don't know what you are and what you are capable of, and what is there for you in the outside world, can never really grow out of that. So how can we give more and more information to women about their rights, about their social rights, about their rights within the family, about their legal rights? And that's how the whole process of knowledge building or knowledge activism, as we say, it began there. And thereafter, the whole work on Muslim law, how did that happen? So while I was in Anjuman, and later I joined Women's Research and Action Group. So my work in Anjuman kind of continued in Women's Research and Action Group, and with the same community involvement. And in RAG, that I really realized that one is to do firefighting. Yeah, so we would get cases of women who faced domestic violence, or women who were divorced orally and thrown out of the house, or women or young girls being married early and facing the consequences of child marriage. And we got into casework, right? So a lot of that, going to the police station and getting things out of her home and helping her get her stuff back, helping her get her divorce, interaction with the qazis and the maulanas so that her rights are ensured. And that was the time I realized that this firefighting can go on my entire life. I mean, all of us put together can firefight all our lives, and we will still be firefighting after 100 years. So what is the solution? And when it came to Muslim law, I realized that there are many discriminatory practices, and there is no law forbidding them. So that is the link that I got established while I worked with Women's Research and Action Group, that if triple divorce is something which women face, if she goes to the police station with that complaint, the police says that there is no law by which we can help you. And then that was the same response we got on issues of polygamy, on child marriage, that your community is not protected by law. And that began the journey towards law reform. That if we have to do something concrete and some long-term solution, if we need to come out with that, then we need to have a law in place, right? So while we have laws for the Hindu community, the Hindu personal law is fully codified. In 55 to 57, the entire Hindu family law, which governs marriage, divorce, maintenance, custody of children, it's already out there, and it's been amended time and again to make it more gender just. Yeah, the Christian family law is codified way back by the British while they were here, and even the Parsi community had a they still have they have a family law codified, and Muslim community being the largest minority, because of the politics of partition and whatever happened around that time, the entire community, even as we talk today, we don't have a comprehensively codified family law. And that's where in RAG that journey began, that we need to have a codified law. And it just happened that I left RAG, and me and my co-founder Zakia, we started the Bharatiya Muslim Mahila Andolan in 2007. And one of the issues that we felt that we need to really take it up is the reforms in the Muslim family. So that's how it began. So it began with working with the communities, with Muslim women in the communities, doing what we start doing by helping out, by relief, rehabilitation, educational support, livelihood support, firefighting in terms of handling those legal cases, to realizing that we need to do a more long-term and a more impactful work, which is to have a law itself. And the problem that, not really a problem, but actually was an advantage, that none of us were lawyers. And here we are talking about making a law, right? Law is not our job. Law making is the job of the parliament, which it has never done in the last so many decades. The clergy or the religious groups whom the community kind of looks up to never did anything about the family law reform. So then it falls on the victims, right? It falls on the women herself, that if this is my problem, I will need to come out with a solution. So our tagline or our slogan is "My struggle, my leadership." ना जिसकी लड़ाई उसकी अगुवाई, मेरा प्रॉब्लम है तो मुझे कुछ करना पड़ेगा. Nobody else is doing it, and nobody else will do it, because Muslim men tend to benefit from the law, that which is from the fact that there is no law itself. So it's a free for all. जो करना है कर लो. Yeah, religious groups find that as a point to control the community, so they will not do it. The government over the last so many decades they already politicized the issue of Muslim family law. We know the Shaban issue, and they also fell back. They didn't do their responsibility as state, that they have to ensure that all citizens are protected by law, but the governments didn't do it. So it is us that we felt that we need to do it, and we actually started drafting a law. Remember, none of us are lawyers. We don't even, I mean, that's the understanding that time was that maybe we could have done a better job if we were lawyers. But as time went by, we realized that we are not lawyers, because then we tend to get lost in the what do you say, the big words, yeah, and the legalities, or this is possible or not possible. So we turned our weakness into our strength, that what is important, that this law that we make, it should be able to address the legal disparities, the legal discrimination that Muslim women face. And that's how the whole process of drafting the law began. We did about 300 to 400 consultations across the country, reached out to thousands of Muslim women, very, very ordinary Muslim women at the ground. And we started by asking very, very simple questions, because we ourselves were not, we didn't want to complicate things for them and also for us. Not that we were very great intellectuals or what. And so what is the age of marriage? What should be the age of marriage of a Muslim girl? We started with as basic as that. Or what do you think a Muslim man should be able to have a second wife in the presence of the first marriage? Yes or no? No. So very, very, making it very simple, very day to day for women to understand, and for us also to understand what are the lived realities of Muslim. It's one thing to say that they have citizenship rights. It's one thing to say that the holy book, the Quran, has ensured all rights for women, which it has. But what is the ground reality? No, we may say big words here, but at the grassroots, at the ground, women continue to face discrimination. And so began the process of drafting. And then eventually we went to the Supreme Court, and then finally we got at least a law against the triple divorce in 2019. So it began with capacity building of the women, of ourselves, to drafting the law, and then out of that, one smaller piece of legislation uh, actually happened. We have a long way to go because the entire law still needs to be codified, but we're working towards it.
Definitely, Dr. Niaz. And you put such an important point forward that it starts from the grassroots, especially when you said about the women who, especially Muslim women, there's an intersection when it comes to first being a woman and then secondly being a minority religion, and how that also intersects in a way. Uh, and you put it so beautifully by asking such simple questions, right? A lot of times we feel that we know the realities of what is happening around, but something as simple as being told that you're being divorced, how does that get codified into law? And that is such a huge step that, as Dr. Nia said, that to codify that triple talaq divorce into a codified law in 2019. I mean, I could clearly see that it took you so many years over this genesis of not only your work, but also Bharatiya Muslim Mahila Andolan. So that is a very big step, and we should really applaud Dr. Niaz and everybody at Bharatiya Muslim Mahila Andolan, because this is a nationwide step that was taken. So Dr. Niaz, if you could tell us more about how did this genesis come to happen? I mean, from 2007 up until now, how has that narrative of how, Muslim women specifically build their own narratives, and how you also try to represent it within the constitutional rights that we have as a citizen of India? How did that go into place? If you could tell us more about that.
So I was in Women's Research and Action Group, and there was a lot of focus on working on Muslim women's rights, building up the leadership, and doing a lot of capacity building, training, and all of that. And then this idea that we need to draft a law, that we need to work at the towards an end, which is going to help bring about a long-term solution to the problem. And legal right has always been so controversial for Muslim women. I mean, it is strange because for all other women in the country, it is something which they got it in a platter right at the time, right after the independence. And in fact, Special Marriage Act also came around the same time, 1954. So it just took care of everything except Muslim women and the legal rights and the rights within the family. So that was something which disturbed us. And another reason why even BMMA happened was, and which is something which I always take it up for our friends in the feminist circles, where this support of Muslim women demanding codified law didn't go very well with our secular feminist friends. And this was also probably one of the reasons why I left Women's Research and Action Group, because that space for you to ask for your legal rights and to be able to assert your identity as a Muslim woman, that space started to shrink as I worked in that organization. And a point came where you are a woman and that's it. So all this intersectionality that is so common now, back then it was, you shouldn't be talking about yourself as just as a Muslim woman. Yes, if it comes to your rights to educate yourself, your livelihood issues and your other issues, yes. But when it comes to Muslim family law, you need to kind of lower down your identity as a Muslim woman. We all are one. So we have kept, this is a very typical slogan that we all say, hum sab ek hai. Hum sab ek hai. As women, we are one. But our identities, our problems also emerge from our identities, right? A Dalit woman and a Muslim woman are one because our experiences are so common, right, as women. But my experience as a Muslim woman gives rise to certain discriminatory practices which a Dalit woman is not aware of. A Dalit woman is facing discrimination because she's a Dalit woman, and I will never be able to understand her unless I become a Dalit woman, right? So this identity-based movement was something which the feminist movement is still not very comfortable with, or maybe now they've become. But and now we also see that kind of a diversity emerging in the feminist movement, that you have a very strong Dalit movement. You have a very strong Muslim women's movement. You have a very strong LGBTQI, which is important. Yeah, but at that point of time, there was a lot of resistance for Muslim women to chalk out their own path and to talk about their own issues in their language, from their own reality. And that really led to the formation of BMMA. The second reason why BMMA was formed is that within the community, within the Muslim community, that space for Muslim women to talk about her issues in a safe environment, that didn't exist. So family law reform is something which we were told that you're not supposed to be talking. This is the issue which only the Maulanas and the Muftis and the so-called experts have to be talking. It's none of your business. Yeah. So don't talk about the Sharia issues. Yeah, but you are facing women every single day in your center who are exactly affected by the Sharia issues. So how do we not take up, right? But that space didn't exist. So we had to create that space for ourselves. One, carve out a space from within the feminist movement where we could come together and say, well, this is our issue, whether you like it or not. The issues are coming from within the religious framework, whether you like it or not. And the same argument to the religious groups that this is an issue, whether you like it or not. So as one of our speakers said that if you don't give me space on your table, if you don't make me sit on your table, I'm going to create my own table, right? And we will all sit together and see how do we figure this out. So we don't need you. We don't really need anybody. We need only those people who agree to our vision, who are sensitive to our lived realities. Please join us. But if you don't think our issues are issues enough, then we don't need you. And that's how, with that zid, that thing that ये जगह कब मिलेगी, ये जगह कौन बनाएगा, हम नहीं बनाएंगे तो कोई हमें जगह बनाने नहीं देगा. And that's how BMMA came up to create that alternative space within the community, to create that alternative space within the feminist circle, and to speak to the government. That was something which we were very clear right in the beginning, that we will stop talking to religious groups, because we did that. We had that whole phase of sitting with the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, and this Jamaat and that Jamaat. No, these are our issues. What do you want to do about this? And it led to nothing except them telling us that we don't speak about this. The same thing happened in Hajeli. Don't speak about this. So we said we will speak to the government, because we are not just a Muslim women. Yeah, I don't have just my religious identity. I am also a citizen of this country. So you don't tell me that only the Quran. I want the Quran and I want the Constitution. Yeah, and I want the CEDAW also, and I want every other international instrument which is meant to protect and promote my rights. You don't tell me I am just this and not that. You don't tell me that if you have to be a secular person, you cannot be a religious person. No, I am a secular person, and I am also a person who has my faith in place. How does me asserting my identity as a Muslim woman and having faith in God or whatever, how does that make me less secular? So these binaries we were not comfortable with, secular or religious. No, I'm both. Indian or Muslim. No, sorry, I'm both. I want the Quran and the Constitution and everything else. So instead of trying to fit into this or that, we said we want everything and anything that ensures our rights as a woman, as a Muslim woman, as a citizen. And our assertion as a citizen became very strong with time. That if Hindu women has a law in place, if a Christian and a Parsi woman has a law in place, the Hindu law covers the Sikhs, the Jains, and the Buddhists. So other minorities are also well covered, right? Why are we not covered? Why should we not have legal protection? And that's so we kind of inse baat nahi karni hai. We are speaking to the government, and that's where we went to the Supreme Court with a PIL against polygamy and halala and triple divorce. And the Supreme Court then directed the central government to come up with a triple divorce law, which we got. Now also we are speaking to the government, although right now the challenge is, and which was also there from 2014 onwards, don't talk to this government. This is an Islamophobic government. Don't talk to them. So my question to them is, if I don't talk to them, whom do I talk to? I'm a citizen of this country. Nobody has stopped engaging with this government. Everybody pays their taxes. Now, stop engaging with this government. Stop paying your GSTs and your income taxes. Stop using government facilities. Yeah. Why should I, as a Muslim woman, bear the burden of not talking to this government? If I don't talk to them, should I go and talk to the government in Afghanistan or Pakistan? Why? You engage with the government, but you tell me not to engage. So that is again which we said, no, we will talk to this government. Okay, don't talk to this government, talk to them after they go away. So can somebody please give me a guarantee that after 2024, we will have a government who will listen to Muslim women? I'll wait. Yeah, we waited for 75 years. We'll wait for 5 more years. But who is going to give me this guarantee that the coming governments, and just like the previous governments didn't listen to us, coming governments will listen to us? Who is going to give me a guarantee? And why should I wait? So that has been a big challenge within the community, within the feminist groups also, which we are trying to negotiate and not really giving in there. We continue to engage with, even as recent as last month, we have done a submission to the Law Commission on the issue of Uniform Civil Code, and our submissions and our demands regarding that issue. So that is how it has been.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, because it's such an important point that again you have brought forward about, when we talk about women also, it's not a monolith. The rights that a person from majority religion may have may not be there for a minority, and specifically for Muslim women, whereas a lot of times we have been told that Muslim women were told to do this or that, or they do not have the rights. It's always about their plights. But they also, like through the Bharatiya Muslim Mahila Andolan, as you have brought forward, you yourself have to come up and build your own table in order to build the space that is important. And that's a very important thing. So thank you so much for bringing up that point forward. And as I can also imagine that even within Muslim women, it's not a monolith within them as well, right? You have to work with such a large group, and there are so many different narratives that come forward. So with such a large presence in the grassroots, and also when you are doing work with the government and all, how do you make sure that all these narratives come through? And how do you ensure that, whatever space that is built will also carry forward, not only within the Muslim women community, but also like as a whole sovereign movement within the citizens, and whatever work we do with the people of India in general is how I would frame it. Yeah.
So what we I always feel that we need to really ground ourselves into the lived realities of women, whether Muslim women or whichever group that we are working on. Somebody is affected by, say, water scarcity or climate change. What is happening to the people who are actually facing the climate change? I mean, all of us are facing, but if we are going to pitch ourselves into a certain community, then where is that grounded? Where is that ground where you are going to build yourself up? So that is very important. You may only when you are grounded that you are able to really flourish, and a tree can only grow when it is really grounded and goes deep. So we need to go deep in the community. That's also my the suggestion that I give to all my volunteers, that Zamin mat chhod. It is important that you are rooted where you are. So for me, it was not just as a Muslim woman that I am rooted in the community, but also because of my privileges, I'm away from the geographical community, but I always ensure that at least hafte mein 3 din to main jaun, where I'm with the women who are facing this, and that groundedness needs to continue till the time you die, because realities keep changing, and if you're not aware of what's happening here, you will never know what you need to do here at the level of advocacy. So that has been our strength. So right now, because of lack of resources, we are not really able to do much of our national work. But wherever we are active right now, we are all grounded. So we have centers where women come for either learning livelihood skills, or getting education on various issues, or going through training programs, or coming for legal aid. So that thing that works. That only that works, I think. because then you are able to do, then you know what to speak to the government also. That is important. Secondly, the diversity has to be acknowledged, and as much as you can, given the resources that you need to reach out to large number of people. The diversity within the Muslim community is huge. I mean, we are 90% of Muslims in India are Sunni Muslims, yeah, but that itself is huge again. You have regional variations, you have within the religious framework also, you have people who have various really different diverse religious understanding of what Islam is, and that is important. Second thing that has worked for us is how do we look at religion itself. Yeah, if you are going to be rooting yourself in the Muslim community as a Muslim woman, what kind of religious framework are you adhering? So obviously the religious narrative that has gone on for so many decades has not worked. A very patriarchal, very misogynist understanding of Islam is what has got us here. And we see it internationally. If you look at what's happening in Afghanistan or Iran, which are very, very conservative Muslim societies who have very low human rights index. Yeah, they're very low on that index. So somewhere something has gone wrong. And we need to accept as a community that we have gone wrong, that we have not really understood what our religion is. We got stuck into rituals and outward practices and outward differences, and we did not really and still have not got the understanding of the core values of Islam. And that has helped us because we at the level of law reform, we did look at the Quran to see what are the ways in which a divorce can happen. What does the Quran say about polygamy? What does the Quran say about child marriage? And whatever was empowering, we have taken that as a basis for our draft law also. Yeah, we've quoted the Quran time and again to say that these practices have no grounding in the holy book, right? But that's the practical, the top part of the text that you pick up for your advocacy, right? But what about the values? If you don't go back to the core values, then the law reform work it's like hanging in the air. Again, it's not grounded in the values. And that's where began my journey into Islamic feminism. And I'm glad I was able to meet up with Musawa. So Musawa is an international organization which works specifically on the issue of family law reform. And my training with Musawa on Islamic feminism, I'm fortunate to be able to hear Amina Wadood speak, Ziba Mir Hussaini, Asma Balraz. They are all women Islamic scholars, Muslim women scholars, who have come up with completely different understanding of what the Quranic values are. Completely looking at the holy book from a feminist perspective. And what does it hold for Muslim women? So a concept like Tawheed is something which is beautiful. And I'm wondering why this was not taught to me as part of my education in this religion, right? So Tawheed says that Allah is one. Yeah, so that's all we know since Allah. Yeah, but what does it mean to me in my relationship with other human beings? Yeah. So when I say Allah is eight, it means that there are dualities within the understanding of God itself. So Allah is Jalal and Allah is Jamal. So Allah is good and nice and kind, but Allah is also aggressive and angry. Right? Allah gives life, gives rise to birth, and Allah is responsible for death. So the duality that we talk even in the Hindu philosophy is very much part of the Islamic philosophy itself. There's the duality, and yet there is oneness. And that means Allah is one. It combines all the diverse values into one harmonious one, right? All of us are dual, right? We are angry and we are whatever, no? Not angry, loving. We are this also and we are that also, right? We are feminine and masculine, both within us. So Allah is one, means that it has diverse values which it has been able to combine, right? Now that's my relationship with my creator. But Amina Wadood says that you need to bring this concept of Tawheed into your daily life. what it means to be a Muslim in your daily life, in your interactions with the world around you. And she says that I don't need anybody else to reach out to my God. Yeah, there's no hierarchy. And if Allah is one and it is there to harmonize this entire universe, my job cannot be to bring in disharmony. Yeah? So how do I bring in the harmony within with all the aspects around me, not just with another human being? What's my relationship with this tree outside, with the air here, with the natural resources? Am I in harmony with it? Am I in harmony with my family? Am I in harmony within myself? Now that is Tawheed, and that is something which we need to, that's the core of Islam. And Allah says, all human beings on this earth are my agents. It doesn't say Muslim. It doesn't say a man. All human beings are agents. And what is my job as an agent? So what is your job as an agent? What's Deepa's job as an agent of Allah? Is to bring in this harmony, to maintain this harmony. I cannot bring in this harmony. And when we talk about harmony, you cannot leave gender out, right? So where is the harmony there? And that is something which makes our understanding of Islam so complete. That we are not just talking about law and the legalities, but we are talking about the core values. Ihsan is a core value. Ihsan is beauty and goodness together. Ihsan is a core value of Islam. Allah says men and women are awliyas of each other. Men and women are companions of each other. This is like the beginning of the verse, this one line. Yeah, we are all agents of God. We are all here to bring in justice, equality, wisdom, compassion. That's our job. That's how I bring in harmony. I've been created to create harmony and maintain that. So this is part of our training in Islamic feminism. And right now I'm working towards bringing in this message in the community. That's our religion. All religions are very deep. They're all very spiritual. They're all beautiful. We've been kept away from it. How do we bring that up?
Truly, that's such a beautiful sentiment that you've made. Like the concept of Tawheed. It's so relevant when it comes to the work also that you do, because I could see that even when you talk about it, it's just the harmony that we have to bring together. Religion is just one aspect of it, but it can also be the tool in which you bring everybody together.
True.
And that's a wonderful way that you've put it. So that just shows that how you have also built this such a large community and continue to build this large community. Another question that I would like to ask you is that even within this, what are some other aspects of your work that you would want to bring to light with regards to the work that you've done with BMMA, or even in general when you work with such a diverse group of women, and especially with a group that is so marginalized? I mean, women, of course, on one hand, but even Muslim women. So what are some major, issues that have come up, and then how have you moved forward with those within your groups?
So one aspect of the work has been to develop the leadership. That's like the core job. But once you are out there as a leader, then issues की तो कमी नहीं है. I mean, we are as a country, we are swamped. We can have a long book of issues that we are facing. For Muslim women, there's a need to understand that we are a citizen. That aspect needs to really be taken in, because a large part of our community is still under the not able to really break the framework that we are Muslims. Yes, we are, but then there are so many other aspects of our identity which we cannot just ignore. What is making our job difficult is the Islamophobic atmosphere that we have in the country in the last so many decades, and it has got a political backing, and that really is a big challenge. And given that challenge, how do we continue to operate wherever we are operating? How do we bring up issues of education and livelihood? How do we bring up issues of, let's say, reservation of women? And within the reservation of women, how do we bring in the sub-reservation of, say, women who are from the marginalized communities? How do we talk about the reservation of Muslim community? I feel we as a citizen, there's so much that we have to ask for. But the atmosphere, the political atmosphere, the social atmosphere is too hate-filled. And I see that hate coming to me every single day in various forms, from family groups, um, from the larger community of friends, from the society where I'm living in. And Muslims have always been the number one enemy. And that, to break that is a very big challenge. We are up against 100 years of the Islamophobic, what do you say, socialization that has happened in the community, in the entire country. And I'm kind of tired of explaining myself, and I'm tired of telling people that, look, I am secular, that I am a patriot, that I am as good or as bad as you are. And I don't have to be explaining myself every time that something happens. I am not responsible for what Pakistan does, right? It's a country like any other country, but you put it on my face, yeah? And then I have to land up giving some explanation. That is heartbreaking, and that makes our job working with Muslim women very difficult, because it's like for the next 6 months I cannot talk about Muslim dowry. I don't know how many of my community women are going to be standing with me. So I have to just wait and watch and see what happens in the next elections. But the hate is too much. And frankly, I don't know what to do with it or how to handle it, except maybe to say that, well, I'm here to love. If you hate me, I cannot I cannot counter your things that you have, that you hold about the Muslim community, because some of it is true, maybe, but maybe a lot of it is false. It's your version of history versus my version of history. It's too much to explain. So that is making life a little difficult, and I don't see this ending very soon, because it's so deeply ingrained. It's gone so deep down. The hatred is too deep. And I was talking to a friend yesterday, and we both agreed that we will take another 100 years. If they have taken 100 years to fill us up with hatred, we will need at least another 100 years to fill that space up with love. We have a lot of work to do. And to keep talking to Muslim women on her issues, which affect her specifically in this atmosphere of Islamophobia, is tough.
I can completely understand. And I mean, I can also see, because especially as a Muslim woman also, a lot of times their own morale gets very low
Yes.
when it comes to even addressing their own issues. Because I've seen that, I mean, we are very lucky that we have a space like Bodhi Stree where women come together and discuss our own issues. But it's not, I mean, for thousands of years, women have always been dictated by men, unfortunately. And religion has also been a major aspect in which that has been present, and especially where in a patriarchal structure we still live today. So it's a very big deal that I mean, it is a very disappointing thing to hear about how we have still so much work to do. But the fact that you have built this space and you continue to inspire not only, people within your own age group, but even like in the future. So like even people as my age, as you're coming into adulthood, to know all of these nuances of life, and also try to not only empower ourselves, but empower those around us. Again, as we said, it's not a monolith that we live in. Even within Bodhi Stree, we keep bringing such a diverse group of people because we want to hear these experiences. And you've taken out the time today to share. So it's really wonderful to hear that space from you, and especially from you who has spearheaded this whole movement. So we are very grateful that we got an opportunity to hear from what you have shared. While the struggle is still a long way to go, But I can assure that we all are trying, at least at Bodhi, we will try to learn and educate ourselves and also empower the women around us for the choices that they make. So it's a very important deal. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before we close, I would also like to ask you, Dr. Niaz, is there anything else that you would like to share with regards to your work that you feel we have an audience today? We would want to share something about your work or some way in which we can also help in this as we help to empower women together.
Yeah, see, we all, it's too much work, it's too much that needs to be done. And what we are lacking right now is resources. I mean, it is such a shame that that a movement that has been able to impact 80 million Muslim women directly with the triple divorce law is struggling to survive. It's another topic completely, why funding agencies and why people who are there to support financially are not supporting BMMA. Various reasons, and maybe there's another time for that. But if this movement has to survive, then we need more and more people to pitch in with resources, with funds, with money, because we have the vision, we have the people, we have a structure, we have the rules and regulations in place, we have everything except money. And at the level of our states, people are managing somehow, but a movement has to also come together as a movement, right? It has to show its strength, and that needs money. So yeah, ho jayega, inshallah, something will happen.
Yes, we also hope that this goes ahead, because ultimately it is also not only a matter of women's rights, it's human rights. Everybody has to have the will to be able to express how they live freely without, fear of being harmed for their identity or for the choices that they make. So
And
thank you.
also, at the international level, if you look at what's happening in the Muslim majority countries, because of my experience with Musawa, I see that there's a very stark difference in countries where we are a minority, like in India and Sri Lanka. We at least have that space. However shrinking it is, we still have that democratic space remaining, where we are able to even have a conversation like this, or for me to even organize a public meeting on Muslim family law. But in the context of countries which are Muslim majority, it's much worse. So while I acknowledge the Islamophobia, and I acknowledge that it's difficult because of what this government is doing and what the larger social environment is, which is full of hatred, I also acknowledge the Muslim fundamentalism. And that we should, as a Muslim, it's my job, my responsibility to say that the human rights situation in Muslim majority countries, it's horrible. We all remember what happened to this woman, 22-year-old girl. She was killed just because she had a few strands of hair coming out of her hijab. Where are we going and what is our contribution to the Islamophobic environment? We have also contributed, and it's my job to bring it up before the community, that it's good, and it's our responsibility to point our fingers towards the Islamophobic environment, but it's my job also to bring in the Muslim fundamentalism, because we are facing a direct impact of that. So I think that is important, and that I think is our job also.
Yes, and I think it's a very fine line that you have to balance through as you go through this work. And I cannot imagine the level of patience that you've had.
We've already been, we are already branded as the BJP and the RSS and stooges of this government, and we are already RSS. Yeah, so
exactly.
now there's nothing to lose, right?
Yeah, it's being labeled from both sides.
We are, then we can't help to do anything about your views on us. But we will continue to speak against all kinds of fundamentalisms. Anything that goes against the spirit of human dignity and women's dignity, we will speak up wherever it's coming from.
Right. And thank you so much for bringing that point forward. Before we
I can't hear you, Divya.
Divya, your voice disappeared.
Hello, am I
Yeah,
audible
now
now?
it's yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I have an unstable network, it seems. I was just saying that if we could open the panel to the audience, if you have any questions for Dr. Niaz, we could surely bring them and answer them. I can see Sapnalekha ma'am has raised her hand. You can go ahead.
Thank you so much for coming over, Noor, because this is for the first time that we're listening to so many things that I've never heard before. And you mentioned that knowledge is power. And you have a lot of knowledge. And what separates many women from one another are many things, but we are still women. And that's a huge integrator that we have. You spoke about so many beautiful things about the oneness. Like you said, Allah's one is all of a sudden the entire narrative of it just changes by just listening to you. And I think, and I speak for many of us, that we are not aware. We only know the narrative which is sectarian, divisive, or we just know that one. And so, why can we not? Uh, this knowledge needs to be shared. So, would you be willing to come on and do a full series for us on Islamic feminism? And where feminism is second and Islam is first, because there's so much of misinformation that we live with, and we are of a time where we do not want to research, find out. If somebody would tell us, we would tell five others, those five would tell five others, and that's how this knowledge can percolate. I think it's, if I have not read it till now, I'm sure many wouldn't have read. And I'm one of those who goes out and tries to read. If I do not know, I'm sure that, so should we, and Bodhi Stree could work with you to actually, we are all a gang of people, we'll all spend some time from this to do that. Can we think something around those lines?
I would be very happy to do it because I'm already doing it with my team here in Mumbai. And I'm right now doing a second batch of the basic. And the first batch is undergoing the advanced course.
And
So,
are you putting it up on YouTube or in a public space that people can find it and read it?
no, I'm very bad with technology. I have my own YouTube channel, which I stopped uploading things after COVID.
I think now YouTube has become very powerful after Google. People are using YouTube. So all that you said and spoke about needs to find, and people would listen in. Because much as everybody is fed up of this lopsided narrative of everything coming in, you are like a breath of fresh air where you're saying this also and that also. How many times do we get to hear that? And that voice needs to be heard. It needs to be amplified. So you cannot shy away from that. And let us help you.
I just need help for technically. I need help. I have the content, right? But somebody has to do the shooting and editing. All of that is something which I
we will try to work something out. I think we will, because I strongly feel that more people need to hear you and talk. Because I read some of your articles and the work that you've done, and it takes time to absorb. And I myself, as a content consumer, telling you, I find it so much easy when you speak to listen to you. And you write on something like this in 5 minutes, which will take me 1 hour to read. So I think we should start speaking than actually writing now.
I would love to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point, because one thing I also would like to personally note is a lot of our knowledge systems, as we say, it's also limited to our own circles of who we interact with. And seeing the space now, I mean, this is my own personal observation, but a lot of narratives that are just built within those spaces. There is no outside this thing that is there. So even a person who's written it, like Dr. Niaz, was so wonderful, but it may not just percolate beyond, because people, number one, are not interested in reading. And secondly, it's also about confirming your own biases in terms of how you want to read the things you want. I mean, of course, you would rather read something that validates your own knowledge systems rather than something that contest it, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But like we saw the link today, like you said something about the harmony aspect, which relates so much to the Indian religious systems that we have.
Absolutely.
If we build a space like that with the knowledge systems, it's not only about criticizing and comparing knowledge systems, but it's also integrating the wonderful knowledge
Yes.
systems we already have.
Yeah, yeah.
So yes, thank you for bringing that point up, Sapna ma'am.
I have one question, and I think there's a few others I know would have. You work with women and you're doing things to improve their lot. When they do not believe that they need an improvement in their lot, and I'm sure you must be finding enough of those because I do. How do you respond to that at that time? How should you deal with that frustration at that time?
Of people who don't agree with you?
No. I mean, you're working with women for their benefit, right? There would be women who would be telling you, no, this is fine, and what you do is not right. And that they will tell you that, you don't believe the religion, you don't know what Islam is. And how do you deal with that frustration at that time?
See, what we've done is we've reached out to women who are, so we've kept away from that contestation. So if I know that there's a particular group who is very religious and they go for these religious meetings, which I know are patriarchal and which are like that, I know that I'm going to break my head with them. Because for them to hear a Muslim woman talk about religion, that itself is unacceptable. How do you know more about Islam than some Maulana out there? Yeah, so I don't go there. It's too much of hard work. So I have reached out to women who have not been, and even men who have not been influenced by the existing narrative, and who are willing to listen, and who when I speak to them and they understand, it makes sense to them, and they are with me. Yeah, maybe there are always a few women who will say that, no, this is in my istema or my religious gathering, I have heard something which is completely opposite of what you are saying. And I say, well, this is another point of view, take it or leave it. It's up to you. You want to believe in what you have already heard before, then please go ahead. So then you just, because there's no point in reaching out to people who are already very resistant and who are not going to change. That's why we also stopped talking to the religious groups a long time back. Because how do you talk to somebody who says that triple talaq is sinful but valid? How do you talk? If it is sinful, then it cannot be valid. And if it is valid, then don't call it sinful. But you want to do it both and you want to run away from the hard reality. What's the point in talking to them? So that's a strategy. It may look like a very escapist kind of strategy, but that has worked with us.
Yeah,
that's.
I hear you.
Yeah. Any other questions from the audience or
everybody must be actually stunned and processing a lot in their head.
Yes, I can understand, because it's of course a majority of us are non-Muslim women, but also to hear these stories is a very important. I think yes. Deepa ma'am had a question.
Yeah. Thank you, Noor. You had me in tears. I took some time to just compose myself before I spoke. My goodness, I think the range of your work is way more than I can even claim to know. But thank you so much for bringing it out, because I think these are the nuances which nobody talks about and nobody understands. We need to more people to hear you. And I don't know how, like Swapna said, we need to figure out some way where your message reaches. There are people who are out there to listen. And as Divya said earlier, with this, I mean, how do I say, with the recent, the way social media has come up, people are reading less and less. The serious reading has gone down big time. And then, of course, people are part of WhatsApp groups, which is their own universe, which I do not know what it is. But I think it's our duty to bring out what is, what is true, what is real, and what must be heard. Because I always feel that, the theatrical and the dramatic and the nonsensical always gets its space, and the sane voice, that which is not talking about violence, is always relegated, because it's not, I don't know, it doesn't get eyeballs. So all I want to say is that, I don't know, there were times, it's been a while now that I have come and seen the work, but I would like to inform everyone that BMMA does a huge amount of development work. They're quietly working with young girls, very young girls, boys, on gender, on education, on life skills. That is actually the humongous work which Noor, being who she is, doesn't really talk about. But I think it needs to be acknowledged, and we need more of that quiet. Social work is a much bandied around and much misunderstood word, but I think that's where the strength of BMMA is, because they've done many things, and I think we haven't even covered like a fraction of them. But for me, as a trained social worker, professional social worker, I think that is the most important, the unspoken work, which doesn't make headlines. All her headlines are because of what she speaks about, something contemporary happening. But the large amount of training, life skill work, gender related work, which is happening with very young people, I think is going to show its effects very soon, because I have seen it. I have been privileged to be part of it. And I can say that that's the real strength of the BMMA. And I think all of us here, I think all of us who are listening in are definitely like very inspired. And we would love to, partner with you in anything that you feel that, we can meaningfully contribute to, because there's a lot that, as we say that, the real work happens quietly and doesn't make headlines, but that's the important work that has to happen. Sure. So thank you very much. I mean, I've heard you again. I've known you for so long and known about your work, but I think today's, the way you spoke was so inspiring. I have no words for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, dear.
To have you here, and we want to hear more of you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing and being what you are. I think it matters a lot.
Thank you
so much. And I
you.
know they're small words, but I'm sure I speak for millions, those who probably don't even know you, but have got impacted by the work that you've done. So thank you so much for coming over. And I'm sure we'll see more of you.
Thank you so much.